Nice to see everybody. I did ask Paul Grobler to join us because he does spend a lot of time modeling using Archimate and modeling business architecture. So I was hoping that he would provide a perspective from the business architects, but I don't see him here at the moment. So we'll move on and hopefully he joins us at some stage. So if there are any business architects, really love your input in terms of from your side of the fence. And what you're talking about is aligning the BizBoc, which is developed by Business Architecture Guild, and I'll just share this with you. This is this is where the BizBoc comes from. This is the body of knowledge, and this is the Dama Dienbok, and it's about how do we get and understand the overlaps between these two areas. Now, I'm sure you may have heard uh, last week. Paul was actually saying, and this is something that I try to do, is if we don't have a business architecture. So let's say you, as a governance specialist or a CDO, you get called in to build a data strategy and you don't have a business strategy. um, I would actually ask you to maybe pause the data strategy until you've got some form of business strategy up and running. And hopefully today you'll see how much you can actually get from the business architecture and how much you should be aligning. So be careful to run ahead and do something without having business direction. Okay. Now, I'm sure you'll be able to solicit some level of business direction, but it's not that well defined and agreed as if you had a business architecture. Okay, so that's what we're focusing on now. So as a data professional, what can you do about all of these different areas? Okay, so this is where we are today. And this is the focus for the professional. So the first thing one can look at is the glossary of business architecture. What do the terms mean? What does a capability mean? What is a value stream stage? And if any of you are aware, where there's been some sort of transition where they used to call it a value chain, and they no longer call it a value chain. This is certainly in the BizBoc, and they call it a value stream, and every single stage within the value stream is referred to as a value stream stage. So then what is the business architecture meta model? Now, they give us a high-level conceptual meta model, and then we've almost got to work out how do we bring this down into a more detailed meta model so that we can uh, import some of these industry reference models as a starting point. So a few of you have reached out and asked, well, please, do you have an example of healthcare or telecommunications or transport or government? And how can we use that as a starting point for our business architecture? Please, I also suggest and recommend that don't just get one of these reference models and say that's your business architecture. I think that's very dangerous, and you almost don't want to, because what you're then having to do is, to an extent, force the business to adhere to an architecture that they just developed as a standard, as a blueprint. Is not really a formal definition of how your company operates. Okay. Now, the things that I'd like to show you is, once you've got this architecture meta model, how would you create a starting point for the subject area model, or what we refer to as a data estate? And then we go on to aligning the data strategy. So these are the things that we've dealt with in the past, in the first 2 weeks. And next week, we'll cross over onto a value mapping approach, the Porter value chain, a value network analysis. What are the partners like in your network, and customers, partners, relationships, lean value streams, and that will be the summary of next week. Okay, so that's where we're going to focus on today. I'm hoping that's sort of what you expected. Now, the questions that we'd like to answer at the end is, what metadata should I get from business architecture? So why do I say you need a business architecture before you start your data strategy? Why do I think it's so important? And then what metadata should we provide to the business architects? Okay, what guidance can I get from business architecture? When is it my responsibility to define aspects of the information model, information map? And then why is business architecture not responsible for the business glossary? Um, so if they're defining all of these things like capabilities and information concepts and value streams and stuff like that, how come they don't get the job of being responsible for the business glossary? So I'd love to get your feedback as we address this question on the end. Um, and lots of people have asked me when I do training, it's a case of why is data governance responsible for the business glossary? Okay, so hopefully you got some ideas on that and you can share it a little bit later on. Okay, sorry. Oh, that moved. It should be on the web, on the professional. That's today's requirement. Okay, so this is the one we're going to do. Now, you will get the PowerPoint presentation, so you'll be able to go through all the essential concepts and things like that, and all the different ones. So I'll make the PowerPoint available to you. Okay, so business architecture for data professionals. So because you have to align, you have to be able to ask and challenge the business architects, well, where is this defined? Okay, so I'm hoping you remember this from the last time. This is the high-level meta model. We did it as part of the data manager, and we should have a strategy, we should have projects, information concepts. So that's sort of where our world unites at this area over here. Then we have stakeholders, value stream, value proposition, initiatives, and then outcomes. So some of the questions I keep on asking is when we want data initiatives as a data strategy, surely they should be in support of business objectives, okay, business initiatives, business value streams. Surely what we're wanting to do is enhance the value that the business are getting out of their products, out of the value propositions that they're giving. We should be able to enrich this. Okay, so a very simple example that I use for the financial services people is, let's say you have a customer that has a portfolio of all of their accounts and investments. Surely if we gave them not just a yearly or a quarterly review, but if we gave them all of the data behind that made up that product performance or account, instrument performance, and we allowed people to look at this themselves, even on a daily basis, then surely that's good value data that will improve the value of the product. Okay. And I'm hoping you can see that it's almost what you're trying to do is bake in all of the data products into the business products. And in some cases, hopefully, you've got just data products that are business products. That's really when you start to become part of the business. Okay. It is a long journey, but that's the one we want to go through. Okay, so we would go from what I'm going to take you through now is, now that we've got this meta model, okay, and I'm going to be focusing on the foundational elements. This is known as extended elements above, and now we have foundational element. So how do we go from the foundation? How do we understand what this metadata is all about? I call that feeling the data. That comes from Steve Hoberman, and it was interesting. He came out of university, and he spent 3 years modeling data. And he had at the end of his third year, he had a yearly review, a performance review, and he asked his managers to say, well, what sort of guidance and feedback can you give me? And the man quickly came and responded to Steve. He says, Steve, you don't have a feeling for the data. You don't know it. You always have to look things up, and you don't understand how everything fits together. Okay, and so I really like that. But what I'm trying to impress upon you now is we have to have a feeling for the metadata from business architecture. That's what we have to develop. So we have to go from this to getting a dashboard that looks something like this. And I'm going to show you the Power BI that I use and that I've spent time developing. And you can see this is all the different areas. And what I can do in any one point in time is I can say, show me all of the capabilities that relate to information management. There they are. Now, if I take all of this away, I can see, shucks, there's 1,960 capabilities. I'm pretty much going to get lost in this capability model if I don't have a way of filtering it and searching and looking for things. And then what I'd also like to be able to do is, can you see now, this is what we refer to as the information model. Okay, and here we can see, okay, right, I've got, because it's a telecoms reference, these are things that relate to the network. And I can click on the network and get the definition and the states of the network and the related concepts and the types of networks that we're talking about. And then click on the network arc. So what is that? What is the definition there? And the network node. And you can see here it is. I'm able to navigate all of these areas and understand all of the different information concepts that the business architects have and should have as part of their definition. Okay, now I'm hoping you can see there's lots of value of us being able to go to the business architect and say, well, please, can I have a list of everything that you have and what you're currently working on? Okay, I'm just going to pause there and maybe allow people to ask a question in terms of I'm hoping you can see the value that you get from network from business architecture, and you shouldn't be starting this without understanding what business architecture has available to you. Any comments? Paul, I don't know if this helps you at all. I did want to show you, Paul. I know that you and I have done this a few times, and basically from this, I can click on, this is what we refer to as a bookmark, and you can see now what I've got here is basically 15 of my high-level subject areas relating to telecom. Okay, each one with a definition, and I can have an understanding now. Where I still need to work through is what is all the value of these elements in my subject area model. Paul, is that something helpful? I know that you actually had to prepare this for one of our engagements. Does that help you?
You could be speaking to either Paul, and the answer would probably be yes-ish.
Okay. Yes.
The answer is yes to both, I think.
Yeah. This is really awesome that you've done this. So you can make it so searchable and so on. Have you done the bit for healthcare as well already?
I've been trying to get this one right, and once I get all of the relationships right, then I'll go to the healthcare. But it's a standard format across all of them, Paul. So once it's imported, then you'll have all of the stuff for the healthcare as well.
Okay. So I might have missed the first bit. So the common, if you click on the common ones, are they? That means common across industries. That's everything generically.
Yeah. So if I look at common, there we go to brand, decisions, content, impressions, business entities, agreements, campaigns. These are all your common elements within any business. And there you see your common value propositions and your common capabilities. All of that is available. So how do we do an agreement? So let's just, if we click on agreement, these are the states. It's pending, it's enforced, it's terminated. These are the different types: bilateral, executory, executed, express, and they all have different definitions.
Yeah. Okay, so this format that you also have here, the information concept, state, taxonomy. How did you get to that structure?
Okay, so if you look, when what you have is a common industry reference model, and you can see here, this one's for telcos. There's the content. They all have a map, a value stream inventory, an information map, and a change log. Then when I go to information map, these layouts are consistent across any industry, and we can pick up this information.
Okay, but your Power BI, the view that you created there, is that basically your own that format and the structure that you have there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Now I ingest all of these and I consolidate all these value streams, and then, for example, I've got to link the stakeholder to the stakeholder map and things like that. So I've got to build lots of these different join tables to get everything to line up.
Yeah. How much have you slept in the last week or two?
Now, what you will find, Paul, is that I don't know if you're familiar with the different tiers of the capabilities. So it goes strategic, customer facing, and then supporting. And then when you look at your customer facing, you can pretty quickly pick up. So these are the common ones that I'm working on. So I can have common customer facing, and I can have telecom specific customer facing ones. So these are the concepts, those high-level subject areas that you can pick up that are unique to that business. And it would be nice when I get to healthcare to actually work that with you and work out. And then, you're going to be looking at your primary concepts as well at the same time.
What is a primary concept?
Okay, so what you'll have as well is, so if I just, so you've got primary and secondary, okay, and really what you have within secondary is that you have related elements or elements, for example, agreement terms, okay.
I see, okay.
Yeah, so that's the terms of the agreement that you're working on. Okay, so it's not your first-class citizens, your most important nouns. They belong to a primary. Okay.
Right. And you have also, what do you have there missing? What is missing?
Okay, so what I do is really just to get my, so I don't drop anything. What I've done is I always create a -1 and a 0 for every single dimension in the bridge table. So as an example, if I have a capability and it doesn't have a stakeholder, then I link it to a -1. Okay, then I know that my stakeholder hasn't been defined for a capability or a value stream. And so I don't drop that out of the link. And I can actually identify what stakeholders am I missing, what concepts am I missing, what capabilities am I missing, and I can then filter out my model just for the missing items, and we can go away and complete that work.
Okay, so you've actually built a USH underneath this.
Oh yes, this is now. I'll just share with you. I'll show you some of the first attempts when I was just trying to get the data in, and then a bridge is just a little bit too hard when you start off. But once you've got the understanding, then you can start putting a bridge together of all the data and how they relate to each other.
Yeah. Oh wow, this is really cool.
Now, Carl, you asked a good point there about what about APQC? And I certainly encourage people to go and look at APQC if they don't have anything. But what you can also see here is that APQC focuses a lot on business process and not so much on business capability. Okay, so if you remember the hierarchy, it goes stakeholder, value proposition, value stream, capability, process, information concept, and organizational. So it is helpful, and you can certainly use it. I've used it a lot to actually help me finish that other leg, but it is at another level. Carl, does that answer your question?
Yes, Howard, thank you. And also one of the criticisms against that APQC from the sort of the hardcore business process modeling people is that there's a bit of a confusion between function and process.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
they get that wrong sometimes.
Okay. Now, what I've learned certainly from the business architecture is that the and I'm going to I think I've got a slide here. Those are the key topics. These are the different industry data that I get. Paul, this was the initial Power BI model that I get from the Excel spreadsheet. I'll come back to it. Now, they refer to the value stream as business in motion. How is the business delivering its value and its movement, its business, it's the what level. And then they refer to the capability as business at rest. And what they say, Carl, is that your business capabilities hardly ever change. What does the business need to do to deliver value? Whereas your processes can be efficiency based, all sorts of stuff. So your processes is a more volatile model than your capability model, Carl. So you don't want to really be attaching your data, your enterprise data model to a business process.
Makes a lot of sense, Howard.
Okay, so I've battled, and remember, capability is what, business process is how. Business processes, you just reorg your structure, and you're going to be playing around with your processes. So capabilities hardly ever change, and so it's quite an important hanger to put your subject area model rather than a process that can change quite radically. Okay. All right. So I'll get back to remember Paul, how often Paul built and I think we did it with Paul Krobler, how we built all of this stuff for Altron, and then we had to try build the data strategy. And Paul, we almost started from scratch, and I remember you saying, "Shucks, it took quite a bit of time, and there was lots of stuff going through there." And so having a reference model is very helpful.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so let me take you, Paul. Remember, we had to build your subject area model. Now, what I am suggesting is this is the first take of a subject area model, and they've even got one for government. But where we would have to be very careful is, especially when we worked with the authority for industrial cities, is yes, it's government, but it has different subject areas. So how would we align our subject area model to the government subject area model? And remember, we spoke about that alignment with the ministry.
Yes.
We'd have to have these subject areas aligned, and that takes quite a bit of time as well. Okay, but a good starting point.
No, it's brilliant because as you mentioned, we didn't have any of this, and we had to kind of guess a little bit.
Yes. Yes.
And create our
even
own.
have a business architecture.
Yeah. So cool.
Okay. All right, fantastic. So now this is what Excel gives you. So I shared the Excel document, that's the high-level telco, and then you can click on the capabilities and you'll get the capability map. You can click on the information and get it there. Now, Paul, as I was saying, this is all standard structure. I'm hoping to be able to ingest every single industry reference model, and then to be able to look at similarities and different areas of data that, especially because it's got financial services and insurance. Now, lots of the banks in South Africa have both banking and insurance. So they'd want to unite those two business models together. And if you extend capabilities into other areas, then you want to be able to bring from the other area and then build a consistent model that you've got. Okay. All right. So that's the data that we get. Now that data is missing quite a lot of things, and a lot of the times it's missing. For example, it's missing the link between the capability map and the information model. This thing has gone. It's not there. So let me show you that in terms of from an Excel point of view. So there's my capability map, and this is all I have in my capability map. But if you're very observant in this situation, what you will see is that they have a naming convention for capabilities. and they have a naming convention for value streams. So look at this. For a value stream, you have to name it verb, noun. What is the noun? Well, the noun is your information concept. Okay, and then we go to the capability there. Those are the business rules, and they have it object action. So they have noun action based. Okay, so if you now look at this, what I can do is I can strip out the first or two terms, and I can say, campaign management is related to the campaign information concept. So I can work a lot of these out. Okay, I can find the links, and that's what I had to do to be able to build those different relationships. Okay, so here you can see as an example, I have a capability, a list of capabilities. That's my hierarchy of capabilities. That's the parent-child relationship. And now I've been able to link my capabilities to the information concepts. And it also goes into defining whether that capability does a create, update, or delete, or a read. Okay, does it use the concept, or does it modify the concept? And they have that in the meta model. Okay, now what I've done as well is I spent a lot of time trying to understand. It's easy to get the meta model, but what it's not easy to do is get these business rules on how they are associated, or what I refer to as the cross mapping. Okay, so you can see here, I've gotten and extracted all of the fundamental elements of the business architecture, but then I built relationships. And I built the relationships coming from that meta model. And you can see here, a policy is associated with a policy. Now, what's quite interesting is that a principle, in terms of the definition, a policy is also a principle. There we can see the definition of a policy: a course or principle of action adopted or proposed by a government, party, business, or individual. Okay, so this is where we get our hierarchy of principles and policies. They should all be part of this business architecture. Okay, now we are also, if you remember, as part of the data management, we are also responsible for the information management capability of the business architecture. So I'm going to show you that in Power BI. If we go to the capability model over here, or the capability map that I have over here, and I can look for information. Okay, there we go. We have an information management capability that we need to resolve. So we, as data management, will be responsible for maturing the information management capability. Okay, now if I go and look at L2, can you see here, for basically for every subject area model, there's almost a information management capability. So there's a conveyor, a network, a training course, a trip, an operation, a route, material, all of these things. And this is part of the telco. And if I bring this down to common, these are the common information management. Okay. And again, remember, it's got that naming convention, noun and verb. So there we see all the agreement, asset, brand, competency. So now so as data management, we should be enabling and defining how these concepts are being managed, and we should be able to provide a link and a relationship between our data strategy and the business architecture. Okay. I'm hoping again that you can start seeing the dependency between data and data management and business architecture. Paul, how's that looking to you? Paul Grobler.
It looks really great. No, this is really super helpful and useful. I'm looking forward to the healthcare one because it's really within the next. I was maybe just chat to you. So you can work on this together, perhaps. But within the next, I don't know, Paul Bolton, what you say, next week, probably 2 weeks, to have to, if we would have the healthcare model available, it'll be a great help.
Okay.
Because this is as you say, I mean, this is now looking at the world from the business architecture perspective. We've been asked to become involved in the data governance, but the business architecture is, from what we know and from what we've seen, not very. If it is there, it's not available. I don't think it actually exists. So
Right.
we will need to do quite a bit of basic, just enough, and that's going to be the trick. Just enough
Yes.
business architecture to make sure that
Sure.
the data governance is launched in the right way. But to have this, it gives you a great boost of when you start out of the blocks, you go in with, and not with nothing, you go in with very, very good content.
Now, one of the things I wanted to show you is when you do the alignment, the roadmap of business capability development should be help steer your data strategy roadmap. Okay, so the one that you drive, these two should be aligned so that anything the business is driving, we want to be able to understand what's driving it and then make sure we are connected. Coral, I see your hands up.
Yeah, so how would the healthcare business architecture, is that also published by the guild, or
Yes.
this is
So yeah, just to share this with you, if I go and these are the ones that I have available to me that come from the guild. Okay. Now I must admit I also go and look at Lean IX. They also do a good job. But these ones are nice and structured. So these are the formats. Now, what I do, because of the version management, my Power BI always looks at the latest, but this is version 6. Okay. And so there's the different ones that we have. There's a tool evaluation, there's a common reference model, financial services, government, healthcare, insurance, telecom, and transportation.
But how does it require membership to have access?
Yes,
Okay,
it
no,
does.
it's all fair, yeah, all fair.
Yeah, it does.
What is the cost, Howard? Do you know offhand?
Yeah, I think I paid 500 and something, 500 rand or something like that.
Oh, rands.
Yeah. Oh no, look, it was in dollars, but But
Okay, but
I'll double
it's not
check that.
pricing.
I'll double check that for you.
That's right.
Okay, so yeah, so let's just open the healthcare, and I'll just show Paul this quickly. So this is what the healthcare looks like. Okay, there's a reference model. This is the content, stakeholder map. Okay, capability map. And so what you're looking at, Paul, you want to be looking at level 2 to pick up the industry unique. There it is. Accreditation, agreement definitions, and then what you can do is go tier 2, level 1, just to get a high level understanding of what capabilities you should be looking at. Accreditation, agreement, channel, patient, partner, service, medical facilities. That's what you've got. Makes sense?
Yeah. That makes good sense. So this filter is level 1. It's tier 2, level 1.
Yeah. So it's customer facing. Okay, that's going to be your priority.
Oh, so that's tier 2
facing,
is customer facing, right?
Yeah. Customer face and level 1. And then all of these will drill down, right?
So for healthcare, what is tier 1?
Tier 1 is it's pretty much common. So if we look at
common
that,
stuff.
so,
Right.
so let me show you on Power BI. Basically, okay, so there's my capabilities. Now, if I filter this out and I look at the common, tier 1 is agreement management, asset, finance, content, all of those types of things that are those are your capabilities that you've got at a tier 1 level. It's basically running the business, planning and running the business at that level. Plan management,
Yes,
strategy
I think you're right.
management.
Yeah, you're right. Our focus should be on level 2, and in this group they are busy with replacing quite a few, in some cases all of their core systems. So
Right.
that means what will be nice is the tier 2 level 1 capability mapping. That's what we will be using to
Yes,
connect those systems to. That's a nice, it's a nice
that's
bridging
right.
point.
And
Yeah.
that's going to be your priority. So your roadmap will be customer facing, but you would also do some level of maturity assessment in terms of the value propositions, and then start to see how they're going to deliver value.
Yeah.
All right. So let me try to come back and sort of. So this is. So I've taken that meta model. I've loaded the data, and this was sort of what I was trying to say in the LinkedIn post is, for me to understand that metadata and the relationships, I had to do a lot of this. Okay, I had to do this so that I could understand what the rules are. So, as an example, a policy influences a capability. A business unit delivers a capability. So this is how we'd read the cardinality. Each unit must deliver one or more capabilities. So Paul, again, these capabilities, once you've got that, then you can start linking to your business units. What are the initiatives? What are the objectives? And all those type of things. You should have that mapped in your business architecture, and then of course have it in your data model so that you can start linking all of your stuff together. Okay. Now, it took me a while because if you remember, I wanted to just take you back to that very first screen that I had. So this is what my model looked like, but it doesn't tell me cardinalities. They just said this is the conceptual view. They didn't call it a conceptual data model. They just said this is the conceptual view and with the relationships, but it doesn't define the actual cardinalities. And that's where I had to do quite a bit of thinking, is to be able to define what these relationships are. So, for example,
So those are your own definitions, right? Did you add each language?
Yes, I added the definitions for those joins. Okay, so I've got their this is from them, the value item, and then when they relate to each other, I had to add the definition on that
Sure.
to understand that cardinality and relationship.
Yeah. Yeah, this is really great.
So there we go, value stream stage. It can only deliver one value item. It cannot deliver multiple. It's one value item. Okay. And a value.
So how did you get to that decision?
Okay.
To say one.
So when you look at the Excel, okay, you never have multiple elements within the Excel.
Okay.
Okay. So when I
So
look at
you work it back from the available data. Is that how you got it?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
So that one is telling me exactly what I need to deliver. Now, this is the next step that I've got to do here, Paul, is that entry criteria and exit criteria is a state of the information concept. It controls the state of your value stream. Okay.
Yes.
So this is also really nice.
But I'm just, so it makes sense to look at the data, but it seems strange that a value can only deliver one value item. That's strange, right? Well, it should have multiple value items per state.
Be careful. A value stream can only deliver one value proposition. A value stream can have many value stream stages. Each stage is responsible for one value item.
One value item.
And so these value items roll up to that value proposition.
That sounds strange. Yes. Okay. No, I get that. But it does, just language-wise, it does seem strange that only one value item is delivered through a value stream stage. It kind of sounds like a bundling of value items on the ear, isn't it? So I know that
Okay,
that is just different.
so you got to take the definition between a value proposition and a value item. You need to understand those two different terms in that situation. So that's about looking at the definition. Okay, a judgment of worth attached to a tangible thing attained in an iteration, in a particular interaction. Okay, so but let's work through it, and we can see that link. But that's sort of looking at the data. I've now understood some of the business rules, and they may be wrong, but that's sort of the way that I work through it. Now, what you will find, Paul, is that there's something called an outcome, okay? And I don't have it here. So this is the relational model of all the value streams, value propositions, and stages. These are the different elements that we have. Okay. And you can see this many-to-many relationship where appropriate, but because this one is a one-to-one, I don't have a many-to-many table in this area over here. Now, those value items have to be unique. They are unique. They're not duplicated. Okay, so you won't find a value item here and it's used in another stage in another stream. They're not duplicated.
Oh.
Okay. All right. So there's and then I go through capability rules. Now I go to my information concepts, okay, and have defined all of these cardinalities or business rules. And this is where I start working with my information concept. What I found to be very powerful about the information concept is because it unites capabilities, information concepts to capabilities. It also unites concepts to stages and to streams. And from there, I can go to the stakeholders. Now, when I look at the meta model, you really don't see that the concept has a relationship to the streams and the propositions and the items. But from a data strategy point of view, I want to click on my information concept and find out what am I impacting, where am I delivering value. Does that make sense?
Yes, and you couldn't have gotten there, got there without building this whole without taking this all into the bridge, right? That's why you did that.
Well, I was sensing it in my original Power BI, but as I want to show you here, but I hit all sorts of limitations because of the loops. You know, those loops that you have, the loops that you pick up, and then all of a sudden, look at this. Now I can't make this one active at the same time as this one. Okay,
yes.
and so I had all sorts of chasm traps and loops and stuff like that I picked up as I was loading the data. And it's sort of but it was nice to get the data out of Excel in here. And then I used something called, and I don't know if you've seen that, but there's something called DAX Studio. Okay, and you load that one up. And
I haven't seen this in real life, but
the DAX Studio is really powerful because you can now connect your DAX Studio to your Power BI model. There's the connect. I've now got the metadata of my Power BI model. There you can see all of it, and then I can go in here and export the data to SQL tables. And I can load all of that data into my SQL tables, and now I've got the data in SQL that I can start working with.
Oh.
Okay, so nice to be able to load all of that. Okay,
yes.
So this information concept has almost become my sort of linchpin around all of these foundational components. It links to the stakeholder, it links to the capability, it links to the value stream, which delivers on a value item. and elements like that. So I'm able to understand and navigate through all of the data. And there is my subject area model that I showed you. I'm able to very quickly get my draft 1 version. And if you remember, we use that rule of thumb between 12 and 20. And if you start going more than that, then you need to be able to look at potential narrowing or broader terms to bring it into the right level that you're talking about. Okay. So this is what my bridge looks like. So after dying with all of the loops and traps that I was sitting with, I built a bridge table in SQL, and it's got every single element of the reference architecture connected to the bridge now. Now, what's tricky now is, for example, when you load a capability that's linked to a value stream, it's then also associated with a value stage, it's associated with a proposition. Then I've got to make sure that when I do an insert of my capability, I've got the keys on all the other ones in that hierarchy so I don't lose any connections. Okay. So you've got to almost do a join to get all of the ones so that you've got everybody linked to the right element. And then you can click on a capability and you'll see everything related to the capability. Okay. And so this is what the bridge looks like now in Power BI. And I can then click on any value proposition and see the stakeholders, see the business unit, the organization. I can now see all of these connected dots that are required. Because stakeholder belongs to a business unit and then organization. And what I'm also able to do is with my stakeholder and my subject area model, I can now start allocating stewardship and ownership that comes into this as well. So there's my telco. I can now navigate anything. I can click on any concept and I can find out where my value is coming from, what the items are, what the KPIs are, what the capabilities are, what's primary, what's secondary, what the different types are, and what the states are, which control a lot of the flow and the processes. So Carl, I'm sure you're there. What I like to do is as you notice the entry and exit conditions, they should be related to the state of your information concept. You should also be connecting that to your processes and make sure that you've got entry and exit conditions on all the steps in your process, the steps in your capability, your stages, and you should be able to control it depending on that the state of the data has been reached. Okay. All right, now data strategy alignment. Okay, so what areas should I be aligning to my business architecture? First of all, data strategy should be aligned to the business strategy. Okay, so in that strategy meta model, it allows you not just to define a business strategy, but also to define an information management strategy. Okay, because information management is a capability, I can then break down those strategies to also be aligned to the capability. Okay, I can get my subject area model from customer-facing capabilities and primary concepts. My data initiatives should be linked to business initiatives. So if I'm doing a data use case, I need to have a business use case. What are we working on? Why have we got this work to do? And what is it supporting? The data value can be linked to the business value. The proposition, the value items, and the streams and stages. Okay. And then data management must also provide all of the required information management capabilities. I'm sure you saw it was a total of 93 capabilities that came. And as data management department, we should be looking after all of those. Okay. And then the delivery of data products that are business products, we should be saying, okay, which ones are we going to deliver and how do we connect them to the business? Okay, the business products. Okay, so that's my data strategy alignment, and here we can see my data information management. There was actually a total of 299 capabilities that related to information management. Okay, now what I would like to do and what I believe we need to do is take these capabilities on information management and break them up into reference and master data, metadata management, all of those types of things that the Business Architecture Guild hasn't done. But I would like to be able to bring in the DMBOK under level 4, level 5, level 6. Okay, I should be able to bring that into those areas over here. And that's the next step that I believe we can do. Okay, so this is the Kanban board. These are the things that I still need to do. I just finished doing the subject area model. Then it's mapping to the enterprise data model. Okay, that's the hard part, because your enterprise data model, as defined by Len Silverstone, probably may or may not be using the same terms as the information concept. So we need a mapping table between concepts and enterprise data model, and then we're going to have to choose which one is the right term. Okay, and then I also need to add policies, strategies to the Power BI, bring in all of the reference models. So this is my flow of what I need to do to complete all of this mapping. So we've dealt with the key topics: the glossary, the meta model, the subject area model, and aligning the data strategy. Now it comes to the questions, and I'm just hoping you can answer these questions. And we can see here, those have been done. So what input and guidance should we get? I don't know if you've seen this. I use the business architecture model and I say, my data stakeholders should come from the list of stakeholders. Okay. My roadmap for data strategy and should come from my capability roadmap and my initiatives roadmap. Okay, my enterprise or my data value chain should be associated with my business value streams. My KPIs in my data warehouse should be coming from metrics and measures. And so here's what I'm trying to show you. I'm hoping I'm succeeding in showing you that most of the things that you need to develop in data architecture, data governance, in terms of that, should be connected to something in your business architecture. And maybe I'll just pause there to ask anybody. I seem to have lost quite a few people. I'm hoping I'm not giving too much information, but can you see how important the business architecture is to the data world? And are there any questions, if anyone doubted?
I just want to say, Howard, you can't not give too much information. It's not in your nature.
But what I find is I lose a lot of people on the way.
Yeah, but this is really, really useful stuff. And a lot of work to get here. Wow. So when you want to bring in the DMBOK, I mean, you already have the DMBOK content
Yes.
in a database. So
yes.
But it's basically bringing those in directly
And those
into
different
the bridge.
capabilities. Yeah.
Mm.
And Paul, I don't know if you remember, at one stage they were calling knowledge areas capabilities. I think it was in the DMBOK version 1. And so I do believe there's a nice level of alignment between the two. And so we should be able to go from the capabilities in the knowledge area to those high-level steps, like those areas, and bring them down into 5 and 6 where appropriate.
Mm. And on your to-do list, you talked about policies and so on, but what exactly do you want to add there? What is...
Okay, so my policies should also be part of the business policies. Okay, so if we look at policies, rules, and regulations, we should be building a standard set of policies, of all the policies within the business that affect information.
Okay, yeah.
Now Connie has left a great example there of John Ladley has a breakdown of data governance capabilities. We'll have a look at that. And the same for data management capabilities. And what you'll find, as well as EDM Council, their DCAM is the data capability assessment model. Okay, so EDM Council have also got data capabilities. So we'll look at that and bring it, try to bring it together and expand that and get a better mapping. Because then your value items start showing there as well, in terms of that and your value streams.
Mm.
Okay, all right. So a really lovely place to attach everything that you're doing. You should find that relationship. Okay, what should we provide as data professionals? Should we provide? Well, we provide the business glossary. We should also provide the enterprise data model. Okay, now the two should be in line, but I hardly ever find them in line. Okay, I go and talk to the business architects and they've got their concepts like we have at the moment, and that's certainly not like the enterprise data model that I've seen. Okay, and they certainly, what they don't do is they don't have attributes. In the business architecture, there's no such thing as an attribute. Okay, it's either a primary concept or a secondary concept. Okay, we should also be bringing our data products decision support. So how will we support the decision making? So there's actually a decision capability. I didn't know whether you actually noticed that, but in the Power
I saw
BI,
that. There's a decisions. Yeah.
yeah, and there's a decision. So let me just take that one off, and it should be under D. I can look at this. Hey, what happened to us?
I think aren't you filtered now on just level 1? Oh, but yeah, that is where you want to be.
Yeah. Where is my decision capabilities? D. Okay.
Was it on level 1?
So I think you're right. It's in the middle. It's in level 2. Decision management, work management, decision management, decision definition, information management, and decision matching. So that matching is, how does it match that decision to other capabilities? That's what matching is called. They call it cross-mapping, cross-matching. And what we'd have to do is to have a list of all of the decisions we make and then match it to the work or the capabilities or the processes. That's what this decision making is all about. Okay. All right, and then information management capability. So we, as data management, we should be providing level 4, 5, and 6 of information management capabilities. Okay. When is it my responsibility to define the information map? Well, if they don't have one. Okay. Or if there's an incomplete information map. So are they missing core business concepts, related business concepts, business definitions? That's something that we should be defining. And then it's this last question that I was asking that I raised earlier on is, why is business architecture not responsible for the business glossary? Okay. Now, what I've certainly found is that the business architects are focusing on framework and structure. They're not focusing on the terms, the definitions of the terms, and the attributes of the concept. So they work at a much higher level than what we do in data management. And the other aspect, so they don't deal with attributes. Okay, business architecture lays out framework and structure. Data governance supports business architecture by ensuring that information is structured, is managed properly. Okay, and then business glossary, clear and consistent definitions are crucial for effective data management across the organization. Okay, so I certainly believe that the definition of all of the terms that are found in any data set it's almost of a higher priority in terms of data governance and data management than it is in terms of business architecture. So that's sort of my justification of why we should do it. And of course, when I say no formal technique, they don't even consider data modeling as a technique in business architecture. Okay?
Yeah.
Really just look at nouns and verbs. That's what they work on. Okay, they don't have, yes, they've got some related elements and things like that, but they tend to find them in the capabilities. So they don't have a formal technique like data modeling or writing business definitions. And so they battle a lot with this level of definition. And I don't know if you've seen my business definition course, where we have to go down to quite a lot of detail to get that level coming out.
So how just maybe as a prompt for that course is that because I have in my mind the data modeling for business analysts, it's kind of
Yeah.
the reference point, which should be standard conceptual modeling, maybe not quite standard, maybe a little bit, but conceptual modeling done by a business analyst or a business architect would be super useful to have, right?
Yeah.
And that skill, because they don't have that skill, they often have
Right.
the precision in their minds, but to have that technique to express it in a data model is just a very helpful skill for them to learn, I think.
Right. Now, and I'm happy to do that, Paul. So I just wanted to show you this technique that Mark Atkins, I know Connie was there, where you define the term. And as you can see here, it basically builds into a graph database of all of the terms. And you can see they use subject, predicate, object. And there's an example of an employee is a person that provides a service, and each of the oranges is another term. Okay, so you can see single statements, simple statements, and then it builds the definition. And this is the technique that we use to drive a complete definition. And then we bring in this process of decomposing and stuff like that. So this is something that we can work with Terry Smith and Mark Atkins to be able to combine some of this into the conceptual modeling and data modeling course. Okay, so just a simple way of doing it, just to show you all, I first of all go to the dictionary, I gather the definitions, and then when I'm in the definitions, I start coloring them with my different legends. And that one doesn't have too much, but there's one that I have done. There's one over there. And you can see here, for example, what is the data management maturity assessment? So I've got all the different people telling me what it is. And then I start coloring, and then I start making my own definition of data management maturity definition. But here you can see, yeah, it is a process or a method. This is the purpose that it serves. This is who does it, what happens, what does it do, and you can now build your definitions from there. Okay, so much better than trying to write a paragraph of things and then you battle. Connie, you can see I found some consistencies between the reference models in terms of what the capabilities are, both the level as well as the tiers. Connie, are you referring to inconsistencies within the Business Architecture Guild or between like TOGAF and others? Connie, is it within one reference architecture?
Yeah, so it's between the different bespoke reference models.
Oh.
They're different versions. So and I'm wondering whether they moved a few things around based on what industry it is to make it more relevant to the industry.
Oh. Can you give me an example so I can check it out?
I'll tell Paul tomorrow, not off the top of my head.
Okay. Alrighty. Okay.
And
Thanks.
shameless plug, Mark and Terry are presenting at Dema UK tomorrow.
Ah,
can s-
nice.
You can
Nice.
sign up on Bright Talk.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Good, thanks.
So Paul, yeah, if you'd like to hear from the guys who wrote the business definition course, they've done a great job. Fantastic.
Awesome.
Thanks,
Howard.
Connie. Is there any other questions?
Yes,
Mr.
where are you
Bolton.
at the moment?
Sorry, sir?
Where in the world are you?
In Simonstown.
Oh, are you? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Are you this side for a while?
Yes.
Oh,
The Sadaya training has been postponed, so that big 25 weeks is not happening.
okay. All right.
Okay.
Thanks, Howard.
Any questions? Paul, you're quiet. I thought you were going to have lots of questions for me.
No, I just actually the one part I really enjoy is the value item, bringing that into
Yes.
the mapping.
Yes.
Are we just from our hierarchy, architecture hierarchy? Would that be an update to that, or it's just
Yeah. So you are. I mean, I think I had it on that previous presentation. So this was my hierarchy. See
Yes.
there, value streams and items.
Okay. That's where that comes in. Okay.
That's where that one comes in. Okay, now also if you look here, remember this one is an important one. All right, so when I look at my value stream, okay, there's my value item per stage in the value stream.
Yes.
Okay, and then it rolls up into that one.
To the value proposition. Yeah.
Now that's where you get that one and only one.
Yes.
Items per element. And what you can do is, if you do good analytics there, is you can understand where your chain or your stream is getting stuck, right? So for example, if you're not doing well at this area, then it drops off to this one and this one, and then it gets worse and worse as you progress down the chain. So it's helpful to be able to look at your business efficiency and performance by having those value items well defined per stage.
Yes. Start to apply the theory of constraints.
Yeah, and also if you bring in your remember that balance scorecard. Okay.
Yeah.
Now the balance scorecard maps to those tiers. It has that level 1, which is strategic, and then it has financial, and then it has the different levels. So you can build your balance scorecard very nicely with these propositions and KPIs and streams and items. You can build it from there.
Very good.
Cool.
Awesome. Thanks, Howard.
Okay, guys.
Very awesome. Thanks, Howard. We'll chat soon.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. No more
Cool.
questions from anybody else. Okay, I'll let you go.
Thanks, Ed.
Thanks,
All right,
everybody.
cheers.
Thank you. Bye.
Cheers.